Okay, let's unpack this. We have a source stack that tells just a fascinating story, one built on speed, on talent, and a lot of contradiction.
A ton of contradiction, and all within a really specific, high-stakes part of the film industry.
Exactly. Today we're doing a deep dive into the incredibly short, but you really have to say brilliant, cinematic career of the performer known as Lauren Brice.
It's an unusual deep dive for us, I think, because we're not just looking at a list of films. We're analyzing a legacy. We're trying to figure out why a performer whose main work was crammed into, what, barely 2 years?
Yeah, basically from late 1989 to early 1991.
And she's still seen as this icon, a genuine throwback with real, substantial acting ability.
That's the mission today, exploring that duality. Here you have a performer born Marquita K. Ward, who was so praised for her screen presence.
Her ability to handle dialogue was a huge part of it.
A huge part. She won the industry's highest award for it. But at the same time, and all the sources agree on this, she never really took the work seriously.
Not once. She always saw herself as a dancer first. Always. And, what's interesting is that the critical analysis we can do today is possible because of the attention paid to her performance, her persona. That kind of focus, treating the work as if it needed real dramatic skill, that was something usually reserved for performers from the 70s.
Back when productions had actual budgets and scripts.
Exactly. Back when they were shot on 35mm film.
And for you, our listener, we should probably note that documenting figures like this who used pseudonyms is always tricky.
It's very difficult.
I mean, we've got a minor conflict in the sources right away about her birthplace. Was it Decatur, Illinois, or Los Angeles?
And that little detail, it just serves as a reminder of the challenge. We're dealing with a legend built in a flash, and a lot of this is documented after the fact.
So every piece of information needs that context. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Let's set the stage with what we know for sure about Marquita K. Ward.
Okay.
Born September 29, 1962. She grew up in the Midwest and graduated from Warrensburg Latham High School.
But her professional career didn't start there. It started on stage.
Right, as an exotic dancer.
Specifically at a place called Shotgun Willie's in Denver, Colorado. And this background, it's just so critical to her whole story.
I completely agree. That time as a dancer is the origin point for the commanding physical presence she brought to the screen.
She was very tall.
Notably tall, yeah. Stood at 5'11", had these striking blue eyes and really distinctive short hair.
Yeah.
This sort of statuesque quality was just integral to the role she'd eventually play.
And that presence, it stood out immediately. It was a very clean look, no tattoos or piercings, which, combined with her height, it gave her this air of authority.
An authority that really set her apart from a lot of her peers.
Definitely.
Of course, that presence was packaged under a few different aliases. Lauren Brice, Jill Tuttle.
And even different spellings of her real first name, like Marquita.
Right. It just highlights that separation that was so necessary between the personal and the professional lives of these figures.
What I find fascinating, though, is her relatively late entry into the film industry. She was 27 in 1989 when she started with films like Bush Pilots.
And that timing is everything.
It places her right on the cusp of this massive shift in how these productions were made and distributed.
The big shift from higher budget feature films to the high-volume video model.
Yes.
So how did that technological transition actually make her talent stand out so much?
Well, if you connect her background as a dancer commanding a physical space to that shift in production, it all clicks.
Okay.
As the industry moved to video, the focus often became quantity over quality. Schedules got faster, scripts became secondary.
Sometimes completely disposable.
Exactly. So if you're a director and you suddenly find an actress who can actually memorize and deliver long stretches of dialogue convincingly,
you're going to use that talent heavily.
You're going to leverage it for everything it's worth. She wasn't some newcomer trying to find her light. She was a mature professional who could command a set. That was becoming a rare asset.
Which brings us to the really astonishing part of her career. That brief, brilliant peak between 89 and 91. The sheer volume is just staggering. We're talking about approximately 87 feature titles. 87. And her main commitment really only lasted about 24 months.
The speed of that is almost hard to believe, but her legacy, her renown, it isn't based on the volume.
No.
It's based on the quality she brought to that work. She was immediately labeled a smoldering seductress with captivating, sensuous eyes.
The sources even describe her presence as having erotic qualities that seem to come from deep within her soul.
And that's powerful language.
It is, and it's not just, fan hyperbole.
Yeah.
What's so interesting is that her reputation was really built on something non-visual. It was her dramatic skill.
Yes.
The sources all say she was consistently given juicy dialogue just because she could handle it. She was openly called one of America's finest adult actresses.
And that acting ability, that was the key differentiator in the video boom of the late 80s and early 90s. Directors saw her as a throwback.
A throwback to the 70s stars, right?
Exactly. Where performance and character were still expected. In a medium that was suddenly all about speed and volume, her willingness to actually engage with the dialogue, to learn it, to read it, that was gold.
And you see that talent reflected in the roles she got. She wasn't cast generically.
No, she played very specific archetypes.
The MILF, the powerful woman.
Yeah.
Roles that needed that gravitas and authority that her whole presence just naturally provided.
And that connects to the bigger picture. Her short, intense career left this lasting impression because she brought a level of professionalism, a soulful presence, as one source called it.
She was bringing cinematic depth just as the medium was starting to lose it.
Perfectly put.
And her impact wasn't just anecdotal. The industry itself validated it. Which, of course, brings us to her awards and the titles that really cemented her legacy.
Her highest professional achievement came very quickly.
The 1991 AVN Award for Best Actress Video. It was for her lead role in the 1990 film Married Women.
Winning that award was a definitive statement. It put her at the absolute top of her field. It was the industry confirming what everyone was saying, that she was a standout being recognized for the dramatic quality of her work.
And you can see in the sources just how much that performance resonated. There's one review of Married Women that specifically says Lauren's eyes were hypnotic.
That's praise for acting, not just action.
Exactly. Even decades later, there's a recent social media post from 2024 calling her a 90s icon whose scenes are unforgettable. That kind of lasting praise for a 2-year career is just remarkable.
And to give you, the listener, a few more concrete examples beyond the award winner, she was celebrated for roles in titles like Back to Nature and the Night Dreams sequels.
Night Dreams 2 or 3, yeah, all from that same compressed peak period.
Right.
And it wasn't just the one win. She was also nominated that same year, in 91, for Best Supporting Actress for Shadow Dancers Eye to Eye.
To be nominated for both lead and supporting roles in the same year.
It just underscores how essential she was to that entire production landscape, right at her absolute peak.
And here's the profound irony of her career. That award-winning peak. It was immediately followed by her sudden retirement from films.
She came in, she conquered, she won the highest honor the industry could give her.
And then she just walked away. It cemented her legacy as this almost mythical figure who left the scene on top, and incredibly quickly.
Which brings us to the big question that defines her whole story. Why? Why was this critically acclaimed, successful career so short?
And the answer, according to the sources, is surprisingly simple.
She never really took her film career seriously.
She saw herself as a dancer, first and foremost.
So she retired from films in 1991 and just went back to touring as an exotic dancer, which is what she always said she preferred.
And we should note for our listeners, some older sources might suggest she continues to tour, but her death in 2015 makes that obviously outdated. It just shows how hard it is to keep these records accurate over time.
We also have some insight into her personal life during this period, which on paper was surprisingly stable. She had a long-term marriage to Daniel Lynn Kaufman.
From 1983 all the way until their divorce in 2008.
A long time.
But, the high-speed nature of her professional life.
Yeah.
It was bound to put a strain on her personal life. And the sources give us this one specific, very humanizing anecdote from that time.
There was a brief separation from her husband in 1990.
Right in the middle of her award-winning year.
And that led to a short relationship with another performer, Nina Hartley.
Yes, Hartley recalled taking Brice out to cheer her up. They bonded, and it led to this temporary arrangement.
But the story's so poignant because of how quickly it all ended.
Right. Brice moved in with Hartley for a bit, but after only 2 weeks, she left a note.
Just a note saying she was going back to her husband.
And that small act, leaving a note and going back after just 2 weeks, it says so much about the instability and the intense pressures she must have been under.
It really illustrates that contradiction perfectly. She's achieving the absolute peak of professional validation,
while navigating this complex personal drama.
Yet she saw the entire thing, the whole film career, as secondary to her work as a dancer.
Which really raises an important question for us to think about. How did that foundational stability of her marriage and her own personal preference for dancing, how did that affect her approach to this incredibly demanding public career?
Right. Was the ability to treat it all so lightly the very thing that allowed her to be so good at it?
It's a fascinating thought.
So to wrap up this deep dive, let's just summarize the breathtaking brevity of her legacy.
Okay.
Lauren Brice, or Marquita K. Ward, she packed an entire acclaimed career with almost 90 features, major awards, an iconic persona, all of it, into a window that lasted just about 2 calendar years.
It was a phenomenal high-speed impact, and she died 2 decades after her retirement on July 3rd, 2015 in St. Augustine, Florida. She was only 53.
The sources say the cause was liver failure, and she was discovered by her fiancé.
A very tragic end.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Her life and her work, they just perfectly encapsulate the high-speed, high-stakes nature of that industry in the early 90s.
Where real, undeniable talent and charisma often run right up against a performer's own level of commitment.
She proved that cinematic excellence can be achieved incredibly quickly. But she also showed that artistic success doesn't always require a lifetime of devotion to that one craft.
We've established she was a standout because she brought genuine acting ability, real gravitas to her roles, which was such a sharp contrast to the market at the time.
So, considering her preference for dancing, her quick entry and even quicker exit right after winning the industry's highest honor, it leaves us with a final provocative thought for you to explore.
What is the ultimate cost of success for a performer who never saw their acclaimed award-winning work as their primary career? Did winning that AVN award serve not as a culmination, but maybe as a final validation? Was it the signal that she had proved everything she needed to prove and was now free to go back to her true calling?